Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
The Tasmanian Children's Commissioner is calling for a new task force into the Ashley Detention Centre to tackle the rising rates of youth crime. The call comes with the centre detaining the highest number of young people in 6 years. The Commissioner says urgent action is needed despite the centre's planned closure in 2026.
That will take too long. If we wait for that, numbers will continue to rise under a tough on crime agenda to an intolerable level.
We are working with the Children's Commissioner. I spoke with her at length last night. We're on the same tram when it comes to this work.
24 youths are detained at the centre, with 20 currently on remand. Police are continuing to investigate the cause of a fatal head-on collision on the East Coast. A 62-year-old Pine Ghana woman died in the St Helens Hospital following a 3-vehicle crash along the Tasman Highway at St Helens around 3:30 yesterday afternoon. Her 61-year-old passenger and the 28-year-old driver of another vehicle were also hospitalised with non-life-threatening injuries. Anyone with information is urged to come forward. High Tech Help is assisting police in a bid to identify a man's skeletal remains, releasing a digital reconstruction of what he may have looked like. The skeleton was discovered in bushland near Clifton Beach, southeast of Hobart last year. While a forensic investigation determined the remains are Caucasian, no DNA matches have been found on any register, leaving authorities stumped. It's thought the skeleton had been in the area between 5 and 50 years. Premier Jeremy Rockcliffe has declared it will be a proud moment when the new Spirit of Tasmania vessels sail up the Mersey for the first time. But Labor is still questioning the extra $80 million paid to ensure they arrive.
It's the shipping fee that's got Labor up in arms.
Have you and your minority coalition government lost control of TT Line and its board?
The opposition questioning why nobody was told about an $80 million payment from TT Line to rescue the Finnish shipbuilder behind the new Spirit vessels, and the value of a now waived penalty for delays.
Or do we need to ask the Finnish government, Premier, who seem to know more about this project than you do?
Ultimately, these ships will sail up the Mersey River and it'll be a very proud moment indeed for Tasmanians.
Question Time also producing probes into the stadium's proposed public-private partnership.
When it comes to the stadium, it's dud deal after dud deal for Tasmania.
As the government defended its budget management, hitting out at the opposition.
The Labor alternative budget, as it currently stands, has a $2 billion worth of cuts to the public service. So I'm not sure how many jobs you've accounted for there.
The Integrity Commission has found Tasmania's right to information system is marred by an over-reliance on exemptions and unnecessary delays. It's music to the ears of the Greens, whose request was found to be improperly refused.
What we're seeing here in government is a fish rotting from the head. It's systemic, it's cultural.
A government spokesperson said they would review the report and its recommendations. Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmania News.
The state's health minister has promised to tour Hobart's dilapidated dialysis centre with service users after being questioned in Parliament.
It's cold. Their own patients have to bring in their own blanket just to keep warm. There are black mould issues. There's no privacy, it's inaccessible.
Dialysis is a miserable thing to have to do for 15 hours, 20 hours a week, feeling sick for most of the time.
Guy Barnett also criticising the federal government for only delivering 1 new urgent care clinic, saying 5 are needed. Tasmanian environmental activists are lending their voices to a campaign to save the koala before it's too late. It's an Australian icon, but is under greater threat than ever before due to habitat destruction, bushfires and accidents.
Standing on the site of one of our most tragic extinctions, Bob Brown and the Koala Foundation are fighting to prevent the animal going the same way as the thylacine.
Because my parents saw the last Tasmanian tiger, and in our household that was always, extinction was discussed.
Tasmanian born and bred, Deborah Tabart has spent decades advocating for koalas, the crusade taking a toll.
As the koala woman, which they call me, I have seen thousands of koalas die.
Development, disease and devastating bushfires seeing the species listed as endangered 2 years ago. a designation conservationists say hasn't helped save the much-loved marsupial.
Because existing laws are completely inadequate.
Frustrated more hasn't been done to protect the species, the Australian Koala Foundation is teaming up with mentor Bob Brown to demand action.
We simply need national legislation to protect what's left of the koala habitat and hopefully restore more of it.
They're calling for Australians to dress up and march across the country on September 1.
I'm going to see squadrons of butterflies and bees and birds and stilt walkers who will be the cassowaries and the emus.
In a bid to remind us all of what we stand to lose.
Because if we save the koala, we save a wealth of other creatures with it and the woodlands themselves, and we save a little bit of our own souls.
Annie Green, 7 Tasmania News.
Three of Tasmania's peak business groups are joining forces to call on the government to abolish the insurance tax. The government imposes a 10% tax on most insurance policies, with those in the business and tourism sector calling it unnecessary.
This is unfair. It's a tax on Tasmanians, Tasmanian households and Tasmanian businesses that's way past its due date.
We understand this is a national issue and an international issue. However, there are things that the state government can do, and they should look at this state-based insurance tax.
Tasmania and New South Wales are the only remaining states that impose the tax. Tasmanian volunteer organisations are desperately trying to recruit new members as the cost of living crisis drives demand for service. Meals on Wheels is one of many not-for-profits seeing a drastic increase in requests for food deliveries.
These are just some of the 300 meals delivered every day across Glenorchy and Hobart. Meals on Wheels using National Volunteers Week to honour the 750 people behind its well-oiled operation. But there can never be too many cooks in the kitchen. The group on the hunt for more.
Over the past 4 years, the service has gone up 60%, so it's quite, astronomical.
The cost of living and accessibility of quality food mixed together has strained the service.
The supply of meals, the wages, the fueling, the increases, rent increases. We are desperately seeking more funding where we can.
The Community Services Minister today lending a hand, announcing $44,000 for a number of training programs for volunteers.
Mental health first aid and defensive driver training.
The state's first volunteering strategy and 5-year plan, also cooking, encouraging more Tasmanians to donate their time.
Particularly since COVID, a lot of organisations that rely on volunteers have had fewer people coming forward to volunteer.
Organisations hoping to break that trend and join the 300,000 undercover heroes statewide servicing the community. Ruby Cairns, 7 Tasmania News.
Meanwhile, even puppies got involved in this week's volunteer festivities. Guide dogs in training and their minders taking part in a special morning tea to honour the contribution they make for people in need. The group now looking for people to take on the 18-month commitment.
We have new pups coming every week for the next few weeks, so we are asking for more volunteers to put their hands up and help us out.
As people say to us all the time, how can you give them back? And it's because they're not going to die or get sick. They're actually going on to make someone's life incredibly rich.
Including assisting people with vision impairments to those living with autism. Tasmanian children have joined more than 2 million others across the country sitting down for National Simultaneous Story Time. This year's book turning to nature to spark inquisitive conversations and spruik the benefits of reading.
The tale of a bowerbird on the search for something blue, capturing the minds and hearts of our youngest readers.
They collect blue stuff every day, sunset and night and day.
Adventuring across the sea, sky and city. Australian children's book Bowerbird Blues, the star of this year's Simultaneous Story Time.
This book's a lovely story about searching for things that are blue and finding that sense of belonging.
Tasmanian schools and libraries among those all sitting down at midday, turning the page for the event's 24th reading.
got around 1,500 public libraries across Australia. You have schools, you have childcare centres, neighbourhood houses.
Spruiking the love and importance of books.
Encouraging toddlers and kids and young people to enjoy a love of reading from the earliest possible age.
And the fun and creativity it inspires beyond the library.
Having some sort of activity that links back to whatever they're reading really helps, I think, with that holistic learning.
A bowerbird's nest. Always collect blue things to impress the male.
Our smallest bookworms giving this little bird the blue tick of approval. Victoria Risto, 7 Tasmania News.
Veterans across the state are set to receive more support. RSL Tasmania has launched its new hub, a dedicated space for veterans and their families, providing in-person and remote help for wellbeing, employment, financial and housing services. It's part of a federal government funding boost announced last year for existing and new ex-service organisations across the country. Tasmania's ambitious athletes are preparing for a gruelling task, the Winter Challenge, which returns in August. The event will see competitors take on various sports over 2 days.
After a 4-year hiatus, the tough Tasmanian Winter Challenge is back, hosting eager athletes who will take on a 4-leg multi-sport relay around the picturesque Orford coast.
Day 1 consists of a kayak challenge and a hill climb challenge that's open to cyclists and runners. And Day 2 consists of the multi-sport challenge, which consists of a kayak, a road bike, a mountain bike and a trail run.
Competitors will notch up over 60 kilometres, either solo or in a group.
At the moment we've got a decent amount of people that have signed up, hoping to get around 300 or so competitors competing. That would be fantastic.
The event will be held in August, providing some motivation to get moving during the cooler months.
I think the Winter Challenge is quite unique in that it gives something people to look forward to and train for throughout winter and gets them off the couch with something to look forward to, gets them out in some pretty cold, wet conditions, but that's all part of the fun. So,
for these competitors, the main goal is to enjoy themselves.
I think especially in Tasmania, because there's such a good adventure community, it's really good just to get all together in one spot and hang out and plan future adventures together.
Everyone involved in it is there because they enjoy doing it. And that's the one thing you get out of adventure type sports. Yes, we get elite athletes, but we get people participating for the first time and starting their journey on it. And that's really the good thing to see.
Lily Thompson, 7 Tasmania News.
A last-minute lifeline has spared an Eastern Shore medical service from closing. The state's health minister confirming an agreement was reached to save the Lauderdale General Practice, with ownership and staff recruitment to come in due course.
I'm absolutely rapt to be able to step in and step up. We shouldn't have to as a state government. The federal Labor government should be providing these support services to our GPs.
Good news for the private sector too. The Calvary's Lenna Valley Emergency Department will return to 24-hour operations in mid-August after limited weekend hours 2 years ago. A new focal point at the Royal Hobart Hospital is gaining attention. The larger-than-life sculptures symbolising the vital relationship between organ tissue donors and their recipients.
As many battle with pain, a beacon of hope shines through the hospital corridors.
To see this come to life and come to fruition, I think we are very proud, and we know Mum would absolutely love it.
The sculpture, made from steel and glass, capturing the vital relationship between organ donors and recipients. For Rebecca, it's a reminder of her mum's gift of life, saving several lives a decade ago.
As a family, we decided that we would like, and that she would like, to donate her organs. Able to donate 5 of her organs and tissues to others who needed those gifts.
On the other side of the relationship, Kerry thankful for receiving a kidney transplant 23 years ago.
I'm lucky enough to be able to breathe today because of something like that.
The waitlist for recipients like Kerry giving very little hope to those desperately in need.
You are waiting with a bag packed. I did that for 5 years.
The artwork also standing as a reminder to have the tough conversations about organ donations.
The thought about organ donation to people's minds, and that they really have a conversation with their loved ones about what their wishes about donation would be.
The crafter behind this piece of art hoping more people will consider the ultimate act of kindness.
Feel a connection to the figures, can connect that to the story of
the possibility of giving life through organ and tissue donation.
Rebecca Gaidaneris at 7 Tasmanian News.
From Blunston to Barbados, Tassie umpire Sam Nagoski is flying to the Caribbean on Friday. After officiating the Big Bash decider, he's been picked to take charge of matches at the T20 World Cup. The honour is not bestowed lightly. Bosses have been reviewing his calls and interactions with players over the last 9 years.
I think I've had every decision that I've ever made assessed, how we manage a match, how we speak to them, how we get along with them, how we relate to them. I was incredibly excited, there's no doubt.
The World Cup is split between the West Indies and the US. Sam will head to Dallas after training in Barbados. A 35-point turnaround in the final stanza against Kilsyth is just another reason other teams should be wary of the Tornadoes, who have well and truly found their stride. After notching up 2 huge away wins without their coach or Keely Frolling, they're going for 5 in a row in another doubleheader.
I really liked our mentality. We were like, we're not giving up, like we're just going for it, and then we're just being aggressive, got some fire, teammates sharing the ball.
It's a different story though for the Chargers women, still licking their wounds after tough losses to 2 top 4 teams. The coach is hoping a less challenging assignment this weekend against KC and Eltham is a chance to reset.
I've never coached a group that gets along so well but then gets out on the court and they're probably a little bit too nice to each other, and the teams seem to be taking advantage of that early in the game, and then the girls sort of click into gear.
Chargers men import Terrell Brown may sit out this weekend. He's been struggling with a foot issue in recent games. The UTAS women's UBL basketball run is over, knocked out of the semi-final by the reigning champions. La Trobe University running away with the lead late in the 4th quarter to move on to the final with a 90-62 win. 5 months out from the new Hockey 1 season, the Tigers men have found their new coach. Ben Reid's following the footsteps of his father, taking the reins after leading the under-18s last year. He's thanking outgoing coach Stephen McMullen for heading over a strong squad with good culture.
We've got a really high quality group of players, and we've got a lot of depth in the squad, so if we can get the tactics right and get everyone on the same page, then I do believe that we can have a lot of success this year.
Tim Strapp returns for another season with the Tassie women, co-coaching alongside former Tiger Susan Brooks. There's been heartbreak for Hobart rower Annika Reardon at the final Olympic qualification regatta in Lucerne, Switzerland. After surging through the repechage to book a spot in the lightweight double scull final, Reardon and Aussie partner Georgia Miansero finishing 3rd, missing out on an Olympic spot. Yeah, they had to finish 2nd to qualify. Kim, very disappointing for them indeed.
Yeah, so close. Thank you, Nick.
Good evening. Hobart 15 degrees today, Launceston 17, 16 the top in Devonport, Burnie 18 today. Ouse and Fingal bottomed out at -1, but maximum temperatures were slightly above average. St Helens 18 degrees, Friendly Beaches and Flinders Island 17, King Island, Lowhead and Grove 16, Ouse and Strawn 15, Lyoweeney a top of 10. Cloud did persist over the state today after a few showers fell overnight. Not much to report today though. An onshore flow had cloud moving over coastal Victoria and New South Wales. Mid to high level cloud over parts of Western Australia and South Australia. Tomorrow a cold front arrives and departs as a high pressure system continues to dominate proceedings further north. West to northwest winds ahead of a southerly change tomorrow at 30 knots over southern waters, lighter winds inland. We do have a strong wind warning in the south for waters between Tasman Island and Low Rocky Point. Hobart 14 tomorrow, showers on the way with the cold front, same for Cygnet, 13 the top, 14 for New Norfolk with showers. Launceston the same, showers later in the day, 17 for Devonport, showers increasing for Campbelltown, 3 overnight, a top of 12, 16 for Burnie with showers increasing, showers also in the west, Strawn 14, Smithton 16 degrees. And St Helens doesn't miss out, showers increasing, 17 the top, 16 for Swansea, 15 for Fingal, all with a bit of wet weather. On Friday, just a possible shower over St Helens and Flinders Island, otherwise fine. A fine and partly cloudy start to the weekend, a frosty start to Saturday, and on Sunday, fine with light winds, maybe a shower over the west and northwest. 27 and sunny in Perth tomorrow, fine in Adelaide, a cloudy 15 for Melbourne, a cold start ahead of a fine day in Canberra, sunny weather for Sydney and Brisbane. Partly cloudy in Hobart, 12 right now, 11 degrees in Launceston, Devonport clear and 10 degrees. Some welcome rain last night, Kim, for a few centres and more tomorrow, but unfortunately it's only going to be short-lived.
And very cold coming up. Thanks, Murph. And that is all your news for now. We'll have news, sport and weather updates later. Thanks for joining us. Good night.